Hi everyone, and if you're on my time zone, Mountain Time, Pacific Time, good morning, and everyone else, good day. I wanted to jump on here to kind of do an audio version of a post that I made on the Mother Matter Ma'at Matrix, and it was really something that I probably channeled on the spur of the moment of the times. This post I posted 4 years ago, and I consider myself a channeler, even though I don't announce that or speak about it, because I feel like my human mind is so united, sort of with the higher beings or the beings that I connect with to channel that. I feel like we're kind of conjoined, if that makes sense, energetically and spiritually. So I never, announced like, hey, I'm a channeler and this is what I do. It's more of like, it was just there. Also, if you're an old school new ager, you would know this term. So I also consider myself an automatic writer. And it's someone basically that goes into trance state, and they put their hands over the keyboard, and whatever comes out is whatever comes out. Oftentimes, you're in this neutral meditative state. You don't even know what you're typing. You don't have no idea what you're typing. And I've been typing like that, I really can say, since I was 16, since probably the mid 90s. And I've had printouts of what I've, typed and journaled over the years, and I had my own dynamics with my own mother, but bio mother, finding my writings and not being aligned with our Islamic upbringing, and kind of, freaking her out. So there were times where I would find myself just hiding what I wrote. And that's basically why I didn't talk about it a lot as well, because the kind of the culture that I was being, raised in and nurtured in wasn't sort of supportive, in an open way. I kind of come from like what's called a shame culture. So everything that you do is always being shamed. And so anyway, I wanted to, in an audio version, read to you this channel writing that I did 4 years ago, which really correlates with the Cancer full moon that we just had. And Cancer, the energy in that sign of that Cancer is associated with the archetype of the Divine Mother. So I think that's that's a really good connection. So yeah, so the Ma'at Matter Matrix Mother. So this is my post. The portal in which we arrive here has been badly damaged over the centuries, with this bridge into the reality being totally controlled and overcast by trials, trails, tales. By damaging the quote-unquote mother, one arrives here fully unprepared for the reality's established trails that prevents one from tuning within oneself to the interior complex nature chaos that has manifested from this tampering. Well, in plain English, most of us came through a mother figure who has or has dealt with life in a way that was not fully equipped to train us to be in tune with the collective universe or the multiverse. From the moment we leave the womb, we are cut, spanked, yanked, injected, sterilized with antibiotics over our eyes, wrapped in synthetic fabric, and left in a small box to wait while our parents see us through a glass and wave. This detachment is just but the beginning. And of course, that's changing. This is not part of the post, but just this is me interjecting. How can one be close to Mother Nature if one wasn't allowed to feel the pulse of their own mother's heart from the moment of birth? It all falls into the workings of how one learns that something is off about this place. Then comes the emotional trials, trails, and tales that one endures, the non-heart communication that becomes the norm, seeing people say a lot, but never saying anything important or from the heart. being moved from one age to the next, only being allowed to learn what is in accordance to your age or appropriate. And I'm talking about the education system here, where in one part of the world, other children have no choice but to be faced with conflict of their reality despite their age, whereas where they witness war, death, violence, and other atrocities way before their age permits them to process. Many to come out of this exemplary humans. And in my post here, I'm just referring to how a lot of us had to, as young children, deal with so many things that most Western children would not really be exposed to, and which would be the war and violence and death, unless you grew up in certain parts of the West, right? So back to the post. There can be so much to be said on this damaged mother reality. The repair work all begins with you. Before even deciding on joining in union with another person, take days, weeks, months, years you need to process and heal the emotional wreckage you've been exposed to. Reflect a lot and take on nothing that you feel will pull you into a space where you have to take care of someone else before you are ready. The best gift you can give your child is continuously healing your heart before they are born. And this means for anyone, be it, masculine parents or feminine parent, both of you, it's your duty to do all the heart healings before you become parents. And this is the part that is a challenge for many, because many are kind of pulled into the role of parents before they've mentally matured. They say I think in medical research, that the frontal lobes for males are fully developed by age 25. And you can look into that and Google that yourself. But like basically saying a male doesn't become fully formed by 25. I'm sure it's a little bit earlier for women. But emotionally, imagine what that person feels, right? Emotionally, especially if you've experienced dysfunctional families, if you were raised in a toxic environment, your age number could say, 25, 35, 45, but emotionally, you could still be stuck at age 9, right? You could still be stuck at whatever age that you've experienced violence and whatnot. So becoming a parent, make it more of a conscious choice rather than of circumstance. And that's why, for me personally, I always promoted, I think even way before I became a public, got into the public and started sharing my writings, I've always promoted like to wait. My first marriage, I was married at 23. And most of my 20s, I was married, but we never had children. It was important for me to wait because I knew I had a lot of mental and emotional damage from my upbringing, that to bring a child to that marriage, to that, existence that we had, it would have damaged them. I would have been saving money for their, not their education, but for therapy. So I think it wasn't up until my early 30s that I really felt that I emotionally, mentally, spiritually healed, and I was ready and prepared to become a mother. But before that, I had to travel a little bit, in which I did, but I had to leave that first marriage to pursue that. So for me, this channeling actually came 2 years after I came back from Asia, and I was living back here in Canada. And I've only been a mother at that point for about a year, So it was very connected and in tune with me, with my human self to be specific, because I finally started to recognize that I had to go through so many trials, and so many trails, and experience a lot of tales, which I mentioned that in the post, before I could really fully form myself into a healed mother. If you had a better childhood and, balanced parents and loving parents, you probably emotionally are ready, and you're as a woman, and you're developed and ready to become a mother in your early 20s, right? It's all about your financial circumstances at that point. So for me, when I see young mothers, in my heart, I always say, I hope she's done the inner work before she became a mother, and that is important, because what happens in the womb when you're carrying your child, all the things that you're experiencing, you're in unison, you're experiencing it together, right? And once the child comes out into the world, it is your duty to protect them, right? And how they arrive and how quietly they arrive in the environment. Is it a environment that's, and that's something we can't really control in a sense, but you can do the best you can. Emergencies happen when you're giving birth, and I've experienced that myself. But it takes 9 months in gestation. That whole 9 months, you have to really be conscious and mindful of what you're thinking, basically what's coming into your form, what's coming into your body, right? And that's something I can cover another time in another platform, because this to me is like a public space, and there's some information I don't feel comfortable talking about in such a big open space, because it might, if the person isn't ready to hear it or didn't, hire you for it, or you know what I mean, like they don't hold any value to your knowledge, they tend to attack. So most of the things that I know, I don't share because of that reason. And I have been attacked in the past for my knowledge, for my research, because this wasn't the audience, this wasn't the right space to talk about it. Right. So like I said, I've been channeling and I've been an automatic writer probably since I was like 16. And I have journals in my collection that I've been writing in for the last 20 years. So I have boxes of stuff near me, right next to me, actually, that I'm planning for 2021 to be the year that I can finally start publishing and sharing. And a lot of it is fictional writings as well. It's not just spiritual fictional writing. It's not just like channeled messages. They are channeled stories where I am describing and, kind of giving you a life of what the multiverses look like, what the interdimensional lives are, astral planes, and what I was able to be shown and observe all these years that I don't talk about. Just because I don't talk about it or post about it doesn't mean it's not happening, and I think that's what people understand about me the more they get to know me. It's like they really don't know me in a sense. They're only given what I project, and what I give is that's it. That's all you know, right? And I kind of grew up and learned to protect myself, to protect what I know, because I grew up in such a dysfunctional type of shame culture where anything you say on the outside, people start to shame you. So when I started sharing about being able to channel and connect with angels, the entities and beings that we know here on earth as angels, that's just like a Judeo-Christian term for them. They're known for other names as well, but we'll just call them angels because we're speaking English right now. I was so shamed by my friends. I was so like I went into I think I remember going hermit mode after one friend was so concerned because I was telling her that I was seeing recurring lights and that these beings were visiting me at any time, any hour of the day. I wasn't getting any rest. And she was so concerned, like she was ready to just like, declare me insane or something. And for her, the only place that she's ever heard of these beings were in holy text. Never did she meet a human being saying they communicate with them on the regular. Right. And for me, like this was in my early 20s, and this was a space where we didn't have platforms like this. We didn't have anywhere where we could express what we were getting. And I didn't really yet know about channelers. Like I was reading works by Sylvia Brown, Doreen Virtue, and such things. But I thought like, you have to be trained. Like these were women that were like, to me, especially like I didn't know about Black women that were channelers as well. So all these things were new to me, especially coming out of an Islamic culture, Islamic background. I was like, this is all in like, not. Yeah. So I had to start learning to hide and not share what I was receiving in terms of information and knowledge from these beings. But the transmission never stopped. It's basically my human self. I can tap in anytime I wanted to. It was literally like taking, your car or your transit to the lecture halls of your school, your university, or your college, right? There's always teachers there. right, during the day or at night. And now we can log in online. So there's always, these beings are always teaching us. We can tap into them anytime, right? And that's why sometimes a lot of us who are channelers, or call ourselves oracles or whatnot, a lot of our messages are the same because we're tapping into the same holographic being, same holographic divine being. And we're all given the same transmission. So I never thought of myself like, oh, I'm special because I can do this. I never thought of that. I just thought of us that we were all going to the same lecture because when I would look around in my astral eyes, I would see all these people. We're all listening to the same message. So when we come back to the earth plane, it's up to us to share. And some people had spaces to share, and some of us, like me, we had to be hidden. So I never looked at myself as like, oh, I'm a, special being and I have like this special status. Not at all. It's all a matter of focus. Some people go to college and university, like here in the earth realm, and some people don't, they choose not to go. And I think that's the same when it comes to being a channeler or an oracle or whatever you want to call yourself, automatic writer. It's a matter of tapping in. It's wherever your focus is. This can be also for lucid dreaming or astral traveling. Some people want to travel here on this earth, and they find the funding and the courage to travel and go to different countries, and some of us want to do it on the astral plane, on the ethers, right? It's all about intention, right? And that's the difference. Some people use mushrooms or shrooms or psychedelics to do it. I'm kind of old school. I did it through the meditation style, frequency music and whatnot. And people use all of that in conjunction, right? So for me, it's just easier to tap into because I had at least 5 generations before me, my Sufi side of the family, that were all into the paranormal, right? So that's why it was easier for me to access the paranormal, because my outer environment, I had elders, not not the middle ones, not the parents, not my bio parents, but the ones older than them, all looking at me and telling me this being has the sight. My grandmother, that's the first thing she said when she saw me as a baby, like, this child, she has the sight. And I know she's going to be like us. So she recognized that. So as a child, when I would go to my grandmother and tell her that I can see beings, she'll be like, yes, and she'll give them names, right? And then she'll give me instructions on what not to do with my body. And one of the things she would tell me was, don't touch your head, your crown. So don't cover your crown with your hands. And she was saying it from a more of a Somali superstitious expressions. But when I got older, that's when I was told by my spiritual, like in pranic healing, our spiritual teacher, he was training us and telling us that's where our spiritual cord is. And this is the cord that connects us to the ethers, to the higher realms. So it's important to not cover it with your hands, because our hands have activated chakras. So you can block the communication by covering that. So my grandmother knew and understood this, right? In sort of like the cultural superstitions of our country in Somalia. And she was telling me as a child things that I should and shouldn't do, right? Especially to not grab the attention of entities and beings. And then again, I can go into this in another platform, in another space. Like I said, speaking about such things in open platforms, it invites people that sometimes are not ready to hear this kind of information, and they don't hold any value to it. So they tend to attack, rather than being mindful, of what it takes to talk about this openly. So I just want to leave off with that. And if you want to come on my timeline, you can read the post that I was just reading on the matrix, the matter, the Ma'at mother archetype. And this recent full moon, the full moon in Cancer that happened in December 29th, 2020, that just passed, was in connection with the archetype of the divine mother. So a lot of us were being called to start nurturing ourselves and reparenting ourselves, to start reconnecting with our creative energies, which is what I'm doing, or I've been doing. And we're being encouraged to tap into our inner power. And it's the pulse and the rhythm that we get from our Gaia, from our earthly planet existence here. The multiverse, right, is the divine mother, or known as the great mother. And if you can't understand or connect with her energy, just think about the Milky Way, because that's where she's connected with and is aligned with all the multiverses. Her image is the Milky Way. So I hope this helps someone out there listening today, and enjoy this new year, and just keep anchoring positive energies. I think just do the best you can with what's happening in our reality right now, because we are here to tap into that, right? And for some of us, out of chaos comes peace. So don't just focus on the chaos of things that are happening. Focus on the centeredness of it all. What gives peace to all that's happening right now. And we'll connect again soon. Bye, everybody.